Hi! In another video, I describe the importance of inserting a naysayer in your college essays. What I'm going to talk about today is how to make sure you distinguish naysayers and other voices in your papers from your own. Cathy Birkenstein and Gerald Graff, in their book They Say, I Say, call this signal voice markers. Around a table, even when your eyes are closed, you can tell who's talking by the sound of their voices. When you write, your readers need to be told who's who. If you are quoting specific writers, you want to use their names. Otto von Simpson, writing about the rise of Gothic architecture, uses 19th century architect Viollet-le-Duc's judgment to reinforce his own. "We intend to demonstrate," observed Viollet-le-Duc a century ago, "that the French cathedral was born with a monarchical power." In The Culture of Professionalism, social historian Burton J. Bledstein, tracing the growth of the middle class in pre-Civil War America, writes, "In 1840, Tocqueville described the middle class as made up of those who viewed their lives as sharing a significant range of vertical mobility, together with the expanding material aspirations." In these two examples, authors are using testimony from identified sources, one type of evidence, to contribute to their own arguments. They use names and footnote the sources. That is how you borrow scholars' work to buttress your own. Naysayers can likewise be named. You can also simply refer to their works. For example, discussing an urban myth reinforced by self-proclaimed authorities about how quickly we can form new habits, Jeremy Dean provides the titles of several professional guidebooks that proclaim misguided optimism about how easy changing habits is. The figure of 21 days has exercised an enormous power over self-help authors ever since. Bookshops are filled with titles like Millionaire Habits in 21 Days, 21 Days to a Thrifty Lifestyle, 21 Days to Eating Better, and finally, the most optimistic of all, 21-Day Challenge. Change almost anything in 21 days. At least it acknowledges that it might be a challenge. Occasionally, the 21-day period is deemed a little too optimistic, and we are given an extra week to transform ourselves. These more generous titles include the 28-Day Vitality Plan and Diet Rehab, 28 days to finally stop craving all the foods that make you fat. Thanks to recent research, though, we now have some idea of how long common habits really take to form. Notice that after referring to the self-help titles, Dean transitions to his own perspective with the word though. It's not a voice marker per se, but it does signal a return to your argument. Don't forget to do that. Other transition words include however, yet, but, nevertheless, instead, although, and even though. Often your naysayer will simply be a vibe, an opinion frequently expressed by others and therefore in the air. In that case, you are advised to use more anonymous voice markers. A terrific example of this is Charles Griswold's short essay in the New York Times on forgiveness. The voice markers are underlined for you. What is forgiveness? When is it appropriate? Why is it considered to be commendable? Some claim that forgiveness is merely about ridding oneself of vengeful anger. Do that, and you have forgiven. But if you were able to banish anger from your soul simply by taking a pill, would the result really be forgiveness? The timing of forgiveness is also disputed. Some say that it should wait for the offender to take responsibility and suffer due punishment. Others hold that the victim must first overcome anger altogether, and still others that forgiveness should be unilaterally bestowed at the earliest possible moment. But what if you have every good reason to be angry, and even to take your sweet revenge as well? Is forgiveness then really to be commended? Some object that it lets the offender off the hook, confesses to one's own weakness and vulnerability, and papers over the legitimate demands of vengeful anger. And yet, legions praise forgiveness and think of it as an indispensable virtue. Whether named or anonymous, make sure you mark those opinions that are not your own and transition to your own perspective. That way your reader, your professor in most cases, won't be confused and attribute claims or evidence to you that properly belong to others. Obviously, if you don't mark a naysay which contradicts your arguments, you're going to appear to be talking out of both sides of your mouth. Not only is that physically difficult, it leaves your prof at sea in trying to sort out what arguments you are making. Pros know how to do this gracefully. So should you. That's it for this edition. If you found this video informative, please like it and subscribe to my YouTube channel below. You can find workbooks to practice your writing skills at Amazon and my blog through the links that follow. Thanks for listening.